Warby!
Good evening.
Hi.
I can't breathe.
Yo, what's up? Nothing, but...
Did either of you hear a guy's voice just now?
Source: Armed Girls Machiavellism. Welcome back to Ayatha Cutie. Like and subscribe so you can get 100 girlfriends.
The story starts with our main girl, Rin, going to the Five Swords meeting she organized, explaining about the values and morales of men, whilst Nomura enters the school boundaries, remembering what happened to him as he fought Empress in his previous school. On the school grounds, Nomura is astounded to see that all the girls in the facility are armed. At said Five Swords meeting, the Supreme Five Swords, namely Rin, Mary Kikakujo, Warabi Hanasaka, Satori Tamaban Tsukuyo Inaba, discuss what to do with the new transfer student, Nomura. We then get to know that our main boy Nomura started a brawl at his old school and injured more than 40 people, both serious and minor, though he was injured most of all. Then the Empress arrives at the meeting just as Satori is figuring out how to pronounce Nomura's name correctly. After a bit of arguing, Rin reveals that Nomura is in her class, so it's her responsibility to deal with it. Empress then warns her to be careful with Nomura's magic bullet. On the school ground, Nomura meets Masuko, rather than being shocked at Masuko's cross-dressing appearance. After Nomura accidentally insults him by first calling him a Buddha and then a pig. Masuko gets irritated hearing that and tells him the Buddha statue does exist in this school, and that all boys have to dress like this to coexist with the girls. He then warns him not to do anything rashly by disobeying them. Nomura laughs it off, however, and says how he is a man who likes freedom and peace. We then cut to a scene where Rin assembles a group of girls to fight. After MC is finished talking to the teachers in the faculty room, he goes to his classroom, where Rin and her girls immediately pin him with their weapons, right after arriving there. Our supporting guy Masuko also seems to be in that same class. After a bit of talking, and an introduction of the purpose of the Five Swords to keep order in this school by Saki, Rin gives him the choice to either coexist or leave the school. Nomura replies by saying he would take neither choice. Rin then declares that before homeroom is over, she will correct Nomura. Following that, he feeds a glance in the opposite direction and uses Shimmering Cloud to get to the window that faces outside of the class, going under a girl's skirt in the process, and says that he will return after homeroom. He then says the color of the girl's underwear out, distracting everyone whilst he jumps out of the window and runs. Rin follows him and asks him how far he is going to run, to which Nomura replies by asking if it were allowed for him to leave the school grounds. Rin then tells him that he needs an exit permit from all Five Swords to exit, and then slices his tie. Following that, Rin uses a series of moves like Haze, Chest Taker, Dragon's Tail, and others, whilst informing Nomura that she is using Kashima Shinden Jikishinkage Ryu sword style, before moving into crane stance when Nomura tries to take out her front legs by kicking it. The other Five Swords all pay attention to their battle and comment about Rin and Nomura's skills. Rin's subordinate Mazunano Nono notices her fighting and leaves homeroom to go find her. Then, Rin uses Carpenter Square and manages to cut Nomura. Nomura then takes out blade-proof gloves, and they continue their fight. Nomura then trips over a tree root, whilst Rin takes the opportunity to perform an outer rotation before using Cycle on Nomura, almost taking him out, if not for him moving with Shimmering Cloud again and getting to the side of Rin, putting his hand onto her side. Rin congratulates him for being able to touch her, then tells him that he is done for and raises her blade, to which he says that he has a gun whilst she has a sword. Rin smiles and moves the blade down. Nomura then uses the magic bullet on Rin, which disables her and shocks everyone watching except Amu. Then, Nomura explains that he modified the defective technique of a certain sword school, and prevents Rin from taking her blade and punching him. Rin then correctly names the name of the magic bullet, which led Nomura to pin her down and question her about the way she heard of the magic bullet's name. But before he could get the answer out of her, Nono appears in the school grounds and hits Nomura on the head, which causes Nomura to accidentally kiss Rin, breaking the left side of her mask and shocking both of them. After Nomura regains his senses, he quickly moves back and argues with Nono about the responsibility of the kiss. Then Rin picks up the blade, which scares both Nomura and Nono, who tries to talk her out of killing Nomura and declares that she will castrate him, which Nomura is astounded by, that she changed from correct to castrate. In the post-credits scene, it can be seen that Rin is still chasing Nomura and trying to slice him, while Nomura declares that he will get the exit permit. Nono is lamenting about Rin's loss against Nomura in the baths. Then, we are introduced to Mary Kikakujo, another one of the 5 swords, and her subordinate Choka, who both swear they will be able to correct Nomura. It can be seen in this scene that Nono and Choka do not get along well. In the next scene, Nomura is shown to be asking Masuko about the exit permit, to which he replies that he needs stamps from all 5 swords and the certificate that should be on Rin, which led Nomura to lament that he already started on the wrong foot there. After that, he questions Masuko about how he gets items. He reveals that they have a smuggler that helps them get luxuries into the dormitory. Nomura noted that he could not possibly have kept a body of his size without luxuries. The next day in class, Nomura is shown to be the center of attention whilst holding some cakes he got from the smuggler. Rumors of him possibly kissing girls when they let their guard down is rampant in the class. Nomura then calls out Saki by her underwear color, much to her embarrassment. When Nomura asks her about the whereabouts of Rin, she seems to blame him for something, and another girl, Vuai, comes forward and scolds him for being insensitive, to which Nomura asks her for Rin's whereabouts and the color of her underwear, to which she replies that Rin got a shock from her being defeated, and is now in her room with a fever and white, respectively, much to Saki's shock. Nomura then leaves the classroom to head to the girls' dormitory, which Masuko correctly predicted. In the next scene, a young girl walking with her smiling mother is shown with the former wearing a demon mask, and the whole scene in gray. Then it is shown that that was a dream that Rin had in her room. Rin then thinks about Nomura and begins hitting her bed with her pillow whilst scolding Nomura with a lot of words and phrases, such as playboy, pervert, etc., before calming down and reflecting that it was the first time she got pinned down and kissed. She switches back to being angry and punches the pillow. She curses our playboy Nomura for moving back after the accidental kiss and thinking that even if it were her, he should have been grateful. Rin, though sensing a presence, picks up her 8-sun sword and puts on her rather destroyed mask and faces the door, only for Nomura to enter through the window and prevent her from taking her sword out of its scabbard and state that he was there for a sick visit whilst giving her the cakes. He then says that he could not tell that Rin was cute due to her mask yesterday and got lucky to kiss her, leaving Rin flustered. But when Nomura asks for an exit permit, she states that she would not give one to him no matter what. Nomura appears to get angry, but then states indirectly that he would like to see her in her casual wear, which led her to ultimately want to give him the certificate. However, when Nomura stated that a few more kisses would then be a good trade for the certificate, she fainted as her fever got too high thanks to her feelings. Following that, Nomura grabbed her clothes to prevent her from falling to the floor, accidentally revealing her breasts, just as Nono enters the room. Refusing to hear his explanations, she presses a button that activated loads of traps as Nomura attempts to escape the girls' dormitory, all while declaring that she will castrate him. When running, Nomura encounters Choka Baragasaki, who wants to challenge Nomura and correct him as well, after hearing Nono's shouting from afar. She introduces herself as Regina de la Farfalla, the apparent head of the Junior Five Swords. Then, Nono encounters Choka and calls her Uchoka, much to her anger, whilst explaining to Nomura that she is Japanese and her name is just moving the U from Ubaragasaki to form Uibaragasaki, which led Choka to get embarrassingly frustrated. Nono then says that she was the head of the Junior Five Swords and prepares to fight Nomura along with Choka, while Satori watches from the roof, stating that she hates Nomura. Pulling on his gloves, Nomura blocks an attack from Nono and realizes that Rin and Nono likely attended the same school as they both returned to Crane Stance after their attacks. Then Choka used a whip to hit him, which he did not block, and that was heard by Mary, who just thought that Choka was playing around with Nono. Nomura also finds out that this is considered a level 2 correction, where 2 people carry out a punishment, and no one has made it through one except for Empress Aimu. During the fight, Choka and Nono were not very good at coordinating attacks with each other, until finally, Nono uses water force and Choka launches an attack. However, Nomura simply pulled Nono such that her arm gets tangled in the length of the whip Choka used, immobilizing both of them, before explaining that whips were not good for fighting in general, before using a magic bullet on Nono, ending the fight. As he approaches, Nono gets a flashback, seeing how he manhandles the girls and gets scared. As he was about to hit them, 2 of them suddenly started to cry. Everyone was dissing our MC from afar, and Satori on the roof says how she was unable to see what the magic bullet actually was. She wonders if Inaba could tell with her superhuman ears. Then she says how Kikakujo won't let this slide, since he touched her favorite disciple. After that, Nomura laments about not being able to get the certificate, but Rin suddenly shows up and gives him the seal, which surprises our MC. Then the girl informs Rin that Nono was attacked, which made her get angry and subsequently faint again. At that same time, Mary is apparently punishing Choka, while swearing vengeance on Nomura for attacking her dear Choka. The next day, Nomura arrived at class only for Rin to appear in front of him looking rather mad. Whilst the other people in the class shun him and say that if Nomura gets close to them, they may get pregnant, Rin finally declares herself his supervisor, to which MC gets surprised again. So the next day, she stops MC to look through his bag and walks with him to class, but soon they get stopped by the blondies, who keep switching her languages while insulting them. However, this time our MC has Rin as his ally, so she steps in and decides to fight Mary, while MC gets chased by Choka, who gets the first sit to witness what Morningwood is. After the fight, MC meets with the Empress Kirukiru Amu, who MC seems to know before being transferred to the school. He confronts her about it, but she denies knowing him, so he does the only thing one can do when women deny knowing you. He goes to fight her but stops midway, not because he's a gentleman, but because the blondie screamed at him, looking at his rod. After checking on her sister, another sword fight beings, one MC seems to have difficulty against, since he knows zero crap about Western sword techniques. Deciding to leave his fate to the anime gods, MC rushes forward after he notices an opening, but he gets stabbed instead. It is revealed that MC is a man of culture and has a big ass manga hidden under his shirt. So with the power of weave in hand, he beats her. Now, unlike the previous time, this time fight ends with the girl being fully dressed, which was inconvenient to the chick as she wanted to be manhandled by him. Yup, turns out the girl has some fetishes with wild fantasies. MC refuses to touch her, since he dislikes doing so when he gets ordered. She gets offended, yet the girl doesn't give up. When MC asks her to stamp his pass, she shoves it between her watermelons and tries to seduce him, but the man manages to conquer the horny. Sad that it was at the wrong time, as the masked beauty arrives and sees him with the booba blondie. Thankfully, the chick still has some honor. She explains that nothing happened and that it was a test before stamping his pass. Nomura is now supervised not only by Rin, but also Mary. However, we know they're not supervising, but instead are horny for our main character. This angers the eldest member of the Supreme Five Swords, Warabi Hanasaka, who goes for his friend and freaking crucifies him to send a message.
If I don't make it tight, it'll just fall apart.
I was slightly prepared for this, but I had no idea it would be so... I'm exceedingly embarrassed just by watching her. Hey, be careful with your hands down there.
MC and the girls are forced to participate in Bloodsport Day. The game they play is sumo, and the opponent is not even a human. It's a freaking big bear. Even the MC himself said he wishes to go home, while he's face to face with the bear. He then repeats one of the codes he lives by when someone threatens me with any kind of violence. I can't let that slide, and he shivers. Absolute shivers, I say. The match then starts, and our boy goes in head first. He does his signature attack twice, front to back, but to no avail. Hence, to brute strength, he resolves and picks that giant bear and walks it to the edge of the ring. Everyone is shocked by his strength. When asked, "Why are you going this far?" Nomura says, "I can't forgive those who harm innocent people," and humiliates them while acting all high and mighty, which makes those chicks happy. While talking, he feels something wrong with the bear's sumo attire, so he puts the bear down, walks back, and reveals that the thong thingy is not right and it falls off, disqualifying the bear, who looks pretty cute when embarrassed. Seeing this, the annoying kid collapses and calls for reinforcement. She tells our boy, "Congrats, you've won," but to take the stamp, he has to get to the roof and go through 3 levels of protection. Each has its musketeer and guards, rounding the number to 34 bodies. Luckily, with the help of Rin, Mary, Nono, and Choka, Nomura advanced to the roof fast with the girls. A weird masked group rescues the cross-dressing background character when MC and his girls arrives at the rooftop. Now at the final battle, our main boy and the girls faces off a bear, the mouse chick, and the trio lackeys who are getting back to the roof. They splits up and blondie lover girl takes on the lackeys. Nomura takes on the boxing bear, and the masked lover girl takes on the brat. As the fights seem to favor Loli's side, Nomura calls out the girls and tells them to focus and motivates them. Before going back to fight the bear again, he blasts it with another magic bullet. Yet the bear still feels nothing, or so it seemed, when our main boy fakes another. The bear then gets scared, creating an opening to punch it in the nose. Meanwhile, the girls are starting to gain the upper hand with their fights. The blondie lunges head-on toward the geeks and dismantles them easily, while the masked beauty defeats the brat with 1 slash, avoiding her attack at the same time. After defeating the girl, MC scores himself another stamp on that pass. The next day, the girls go through their morning routines, but this time the masked beauty changes to her new school dress, and the blonde beauty puts on a new perfume, and they head out to walk with Nomura. At school, he seems to have entered his popularity phase. Because of his great success, the girls follow him with lusty eyes. The slightest action from him gets followed by a wave of cheers. Nomura himself doesn't think much of it, but Rin and Mary are jealous AF. When they get back home, they get utterly disappointed because our MC didn't notice their changes. But it turns out he did. The next morning, he wakes up feeling good. And when he sees the chicks, he tells Rin that he is glad she went back to the old school uniform. It suited her better, and smells Mary telling her he is also glad she went back to the old perfume, because he preferred the old one better. These words light up the girls, blessing them from the core. They get excited and act all tsundere by asking him to check his bag for any smuggled stuff. At that time, Rin and Mary found a photo in the bag, which shocks them. It was a pic of the man with a woman from the 5 divine swords on top of him, being all naked. Getting all angry and deeply frustrated, they chase him all over the school until he manages to slip them with the help of that loli. Nomura tells Warabi about the situation, She laughs in his face, knowing it's all the works of her fellow divine sword lady, and the only way to stop these shenanigans is to face her head-on, so they devise a plan to get to the girls' dorm. The plan was to get caught by the ladies, be taken to the torture room,
Domestic violence.
and after having some whooping, Warabe frees the man, and they walk to the girls' bathroom where the green hair chick is.
Did either of you hear a guy's voice just now?
Inside the bathroom, they find a girl with a hockey mask. The girl spits a needle but gets intersected by the blonde loli. Then the divine chick makes an entrance, coming out of the bathhouse all naked. MC asks her why would she frame him, and she says it was because she finds him annoying. Now, we can't really show the fight sequence due to the fight being in full nude, so here's a quick rundown of what happened. MC fights the naked girl, while the loli stayed to fight the masked girl, although she was not 100% of her conscious due to the drugs in her system. However, she decides to go through the fight pulling a Naruto move and stabbing her leg to get the adrenaline pumping. Yet it's not enough, as the masked chick still has more tricks up her sleeve, or rather her bamboo stick, which had drugs at the end of it. So the blonde loli stabs herself, gets rid of some of the drugs, and keeps the adrenaline up, helping her deliver a swoop to the girl. Then transition to hand-to-hand combat and flips the girl like a burger on her ass. On the other end, the fight seems to be going to the crazy chick side. After all, it is hard to fight a hot woman naked, so MC, to make it fair, takes off his own clothes. Now both parties can duke it out as God planned. It was revealed that the green-haired chick is using 10 different sword techniques from 10 schools. So using this knowledge and by controlling the psyche of the girl, our boy manages to outclass her. After being defeated, instead of admitting it, the crazy chick threatens to throw the pig's data in the pool, which is the only thing that can clear his name. However, Nomura doesn't give a damn, as the man, the myth, the legend, or better yet, he takes off his glove and smacks that crazy girl to shut the hell up to the bath. She asks why he did that. Our main boy said, because you made Rin cry, which makes the chick laugh and she admits defeat. Suddenly, Nomura awakens in the infirmary. After the battle with Satori, the last divine sword chick came by the bath. She saw Warabe passed out, so she asked her subordinate to treat her and take her to the infirmary while she goes on the bath to address what took place there. Satori notices the white-haired chick entering, so she grabs Nomura and hides in while she casually talks to her comrade. Not wanting to get wet, the girl asks her to meet in front of the building alone and leaves. This request was for Nomura, who prepares himself to go, but collapses due to his injuries from the BDSM session with the girls and the injuries he suffered fighting Satori. Meanwhile, Rin and Mary know nothing about what's happening and are concerned about Nomura, who they think is still in the Segs dungeon, so they decide to go and visit him. Surprisingly, they both run into each other. Back at the infirmary, MC walks up and gets caught up on what happened till this point. Satori tells him she told the ladies what happened, in a manner that will cause misunderstanding. Rin arrives and MC panics, but she does a 90 degrees bow to apologize for her behavior. She also tells him to do whatever he wants to make things right, so he reaches for the mask and tells her to remove it as she looks beautiful without it. She blushes and shares her past childhood memories, to which MC comforts her before revealing himself as an orphan, getting raised by an old man who trained him very hard to the point it can be considered abuse. But he is still thankful, as it made him the man he is today. What broke this serious moment into comedy was when Warabe woke up and needs to go to the bathroom. But she doesn't want to cut the couple's moment when Mary also arrives to apologize, offering her body like a thirsty chick. The loli had no choice but to bucket it out, as her bear covered for her. In the end, Nomura gets back to his room, where his roommate asks what he thinks about him. MC tries to play it off as a joke, but when he sees him bring it all serious, Nomura tells him, "You're my only best friend around here. drugging my food to protect the other guys won't change how I see you. After making out, he tells him that he hid a surprise in the pillow, which was the pass with a new stamp on it, the Satori stamp. His morning was Nomura's worst so far. He woke up from a nightmare filled with his past, clouded memories colored in red blood. However, his attention was soon grabbed by the uproar in the dormitory, caused by those who wouldn't understand what kind of state he was in. A monster is in their bathroom, but Nomura doesn't bother with dem bussies and tells them to F off. He seems to have woken up on the wrong side of the bed. In the girls' dorm, things keep disappearing, like Mary's underling's wig and cupbearer, so the group decides to look for them together. While having a fallout on what to look for first, Nomura's brains start to work, and he figures the monster that was terrorizing the boys' bath was the little bear wearing the girl's wig. After solving the situation, Warabe leaves. While discussing the disappearance of the Empress, she looks outside and sees Satori fighting her, so she rushes toward the building. In that fight, it gets revealed that Satori is actually the short-hair masked chick, when they were a little fake Satori used to look down at her younger sister. So one day the little one decides to climb up, taking her place and name, yet she still loves her, and it was shown when real Satori jumped to protect her young sister from a nasty hit. Sadly, when Warabe arrives, she sees the sister on top of each other as she got to the roof late. And now she has no other option but to fight the Empress, whose body seems to be made from steel. Needless to say, the Empress overpowers the blondie and her bear. On the other end, Nomura feels off, but shakes the feelings when he sees Tsukuyo, the last divine sword. He walks up to her to ask for the stamp, but gets stopped in his track by her swift blade. Tsukuyo Inaba is one of the Heavenly Five swords with extraordinary skills. She fights using Yakumaru Chaiken Ryu. Facing her godlike speed, even Nomura can't help but be surprised, as he realizes that her skills are far above his own. Their talks are interrupted when they hear the sounds of a fight coming from the rooftop of the school. Nomura leaves Tsukuyo to see what is going on, but when they arrive, the Empress has already disappeared, leaving the blonde loli, her bear, and the trio of lackeys laying on the ground. Nomura goes to check on the loli, seeing her eyes are bleeding. Suddenly, a woman appears from behind the main boy. She tells him that the girl will be okay, then tells him to go and take care of other matters while she attends to the people on the roof. On the ground, the Empress gets confronted by Rin and Mary. They try to stop her, but stand no chance against the strength of that long-hair beauty. The only person who has a chance against her is Tsukuyo, who recognizes her fighting style. She tells her no matter how good the style is, it is actually inferior to her style, and so the girls then attack each other. The middle school girls' attacks are fast, but they manage to hit the Empress well, but alas, since the blade she is welding is fake, the attacks couldn't do the job as the Empress attacks. When the girls go for a second round, the man of the hour, too good to be sour, arrives from nowhere. He pushes the loli aside as he goes to handle that psycho chick. Nomura's screams tremble with anger, while Amu's roars are like a Super Saiyan in response. Nomura's intuition was correct. The Empress was Amu, who once believed he was a friend and was betrayed, fought, and deeply hated. Amu also remembers the old memories of when she first met her lover boy. He complimented her and asked her to stop the attacks on the little kids. Seeing his charm and charisma, she agrees and becomes friends. However, their friendship is short-lived when Nomura declines her offer of having a tour of their school, going instead with a boy that he saved earlier. Seeing that she felt jealous and angry, she then attacks the boy, marking the end of their friendship. Back to the present time, with the bitter memories that were awakened, their rematch starts. Nomura goes for a head-on telegraphed punch, and Empress counters with a stab to the stomach. This time, the man is ready as he hid the manga volumes in anticipation on the counter. After contemplating his options and receiving a pep talk from the girls, Nomura decides to use the magic bullet through her automatic counterattack skill, and the defense of the iron wall to reach Amo, yet like before soon fails, and puts him on the receiving side of a heavy blow. Luckily, he dodges in time with the help of Tsukuyo's instructions. She later whispers in his ear the key to success, so he stands back up with a smile on his face, being all ready for the final battle. While our lover girl has a sad look on her, as she doesn't want to fight him but wants to be with him. But her pride is only preventing her from doing so. Hence, the only thing is to fight under the rain. The two then starts their fight and exchange consecutive blows with smiles on their face. During the battle, various thoughts come to their hearts. However, no matter how much and how hard the fists are thrown, the lovebirds still don't back down. Especially the chick, who loves the man so much that she turned yandere. She wants no one to have him accept her. With every punch she takes, she feels alive and happier. I suspect low-key that the chick is a masochist. When the couple goes for their last hits, they connect, but the Empress's hits were stronger. As our boy collapses looking at the sky, she reaches towards him, holding him like a princess. She tells him that she loves him and puts his hand on her chest, asking him if he can feel her heartbeat under her breasts. She tells him to be a man down to the bone and deliver his spirit bullet straight to her heart, which he does after a bit of hesitation. When the fight ends, Tsukuyo holds Nomura at sword point. Turns out that she's just playing with him, and her true intent is to make friends with him. She tells him that she will help him perfect his techniques while watching over him, just like the rest of the girls. Now, I see where this is going, so she will offer her last stamp like that. It's an offer he can't pass, yet he does as the man who doesn't like being threatened. Suddenly, a few masked girls arrive at the scene and try to attack the Empress in revenge for their Princess Satori. But luckily, the thick headmaster arrives and dismantles them. She then tells everyone to go back to their room except for Nomura. Nomura is being expelled from on today. The next day, Nomura wakes up and says goodbye to his male friend and the girls who were in the hospital. Before heading outside to look for Rin and Mary, who were at the headmaster's office trying to convince her to reverse the decision, he notices Tsukuyo. She tells him that Amu is on her way to the airport, so he goes to chase after her. But Sue gets stopped by the blind Loli, who tells him he needs permission to get out as his expulsion paperwork hasn't been out yet. With no choice, he agrees to become her pupil. At the airport, Nomura says goodbye to Amu. She pulls a sneaky and gives him a quick kiss. Then he heads out to see Rin and Mary waiting on him. They tell him that he is not actually expelled because the headmaster joked about it. The trio then goes back to the school with everyone waiting at the entrance. The next day, 4 of the Supreme 5 Swords arrive for a meeting with the headmistress. She is glad that they are there. They point out that Inaba is absent. She replies that she is never present. They start the meeting. She tells them that she had gathered them to talk about the incident that the Empress caused the other day. She explains that it was a big surprise that a single person defeated the Supreme 5 Swords, which was supposed to protect the Academy. The headmistress thinks that it is time to take action. Rin Onigawara speaks up and wants to take responsibility if the headmistress wants to punish them. Mary Kifukuju objects to this as she does not believe that it was her fault. Warabai Hanasaka says that it didn't matter as it was her mistake. Satori Tamaba starts to speak, but headmistress Yukino Fujibayashi interrupts her. She tells them that they are too proud and that if they had worked together, the results would have been different. She states that her punishment for the Supreme 5 Swords will be to go on a school trip so they can get along better. This surprises them. The scene shifts to the academy where the students are talking about the school trip that the Supreme 5 Swords are taking. It seems that the 5 Swords are choosing one student to go with them. The 4 girls, Rin, Mary, Warabi, and Satori are seen having a meeting. Meanwhile, Tsukuyo Inaba is seen meditating when she suddenly feels the presence of someone and gets excited. She composes herself and tells her disciple who is coming towards her that he seems sleepy. Her disciple, Fudo Nomura, thanks her and calls her Wagashi, but mispronounces the word. She corrects him, saying that the accent should be at the end. Wagashi means master or traditional Japanese sweets, depending on the accent. Fudo affirms her correction. He tells her that he wanted to take rest the entire day. Tsukuyo interrupts him by saying that he came because she decided that the best he could do was to become her disciple. A flashback of the battle the previous day is seen while Fudo explains that when Tsukuyo told her what to do, he felt a great resistance that he had never experienced before. She explains that had his opponent used her auto-counter ability, he would have lost. She reminds him that being careful is important, but trust is also important, and Fudo seems to resist what others teach him. She tells him not to worry as she raises her hand and suddenly unleashes a wind force that hits Fudo. He thought was a magic bullet similar to his skill. He realizes that it was not, and that she just put a lot of force into her movement. This flung him back, tumbling 3 times before he falls on his back. Tsukuyo tells him that she doesn't like to teach things others cannot master since respect comes from admiration. She approaches MC and asks him if he realized that what she did was not as strong given her build. He thanks her and calls her master, this time with the right accent. She smiles and says she likes the sound of that and asks him to say it again. Back in the meeting, Rin announces that they will go on a trip. Satori asks where they will go while Warevi asks who will they go with. They have a discussion on who they should take, and Warabi says she has not yet decided, but it has to be someone close to her. As they talk, Rin recalls that the headmistress had asked her to watch Nomura, so she cannot stop even for the trip. Mary also thinks she could say she has to watch Nomura, but feels it would be weird if she proposes it. She fears Rin can't make something up, while Rin also thinks she can't make up for a random reason. They continue their meeting while students are spying on them through the door awaiting their decision. Meanwhile, MC falls down with Tsukuyo ending their teaching session. She was disappointed as she thought he would be more resilient. He reasons that he has fought a lot even since he got there and has not yet fully recovered. He suggests that he should take a vacation. In the meeting, the discussion of who to bring is still being debated. Rin's sister and Mary's sister, together with other students, suddenly burst through the door. They are begging to be brought on the trip. As they continue discussing, Tsukuyo suggests bringing Fudo Nomura. This brings great relief to Rin and Mary. The others also do not complain, as he was the one who defeated the Empress. Rin is surprised that MC has agreed to be trained by Tsukuyo, but as explained, it was due to some important reasons. The headmistress, who was listening in on the meeting, objects to this as MC is a recent transfer and had yet to take his tests. She also explains that if he fails the test, he has to take extra classes and thus cannot go. The 5 swords all decide to take on the role of tutors for MC. As they start to tutor him, they argue as to who gets to be his tutor. They decide whoever has the highest grade will be the tutor. This turned out to be a bad suggestion as all of them had the same grades. As the afternoon bell rings, they realize that they had lost so much time arguing. They will have to tutor Nomura together, and then have to focus on that objective. They realize that this was what the headmistress actually wanted, for all of them to work together as a team. As the plan to start with the tutoring, MC was gone from the chair. They all go to his room to tutor him, but find out his buddy is actually helping him. In the headmistress's office, she is talking to someone on the phone. She tells the person on the line that Tsukuyo Inaba will be in charge of him. The trip to the hot spring goes as planned, with everyone seemingly enjoying the arrival. MC, however, wasn't happy as he was made to carry all their bags. Warabai tells him that they will compensate him by washing his back, so he can choose one of them to do so. NC imagines Empress washing his back, but is soon brought back to the earth by Satori. He tries avoiding answering the question, which angers the girls. At night during dinner, Nomura eats rice cakes alone in his room while the girls have a feast together. Nono and Shoka both send messages to their sisters stating that from the inn, where you can see many shooting stars. If you are the first to enter the bath, you get your wish actually fulfilled. They dismiss it at first, but soon end up fighting over each other on who goes first. Satori and Mary face off while Rin and Warabi fight each other. Tsukuyo, on the other hand, steps outside the room while they fight and analyzes their fighting styles. Mary's fencing style relies on analyzing the opponent's body movement, so strength-based attacks don't work well against her. However, fencing moves do not work well when wearing a yukata. Rin, on the other hand, comments that Warabi's sword has not yet touched her, while she already cut her slightly. Warabi points out that she really did not hit her on her body, but she did slash her obi's belt, thus opening up her yukata. Rin tries to cover herself up, and Warabi makes a series of slashes to expose Rin more, thus defeating her. Satori beats Mary as she turns to fight Warabi, and she finds her running toward the bath. Satori runs after her in her underwear, so Warabi also undresses as she runs towards the bath. As she jumps towards the bath, Satori hits her on the head, knocking her down before she reaches the bath. Satori gets to be the first one in the bath. Meanwhile, Tsukuyo observes that there are 2 baths, so one has to simply use the other bath. She starts to undress when Nomura appears. He asks her what she is doing in the men's bath. She knocks him out to the stars, just as how Team Rocket gets blasted off. Later, when all of the girls seem to be enjoying the bath, admitting that Satori was the first to get into the bath, Nomura suddenly crashes down from above as Tsukuyo enters the bath. Rin, Mary, and Warabi all panics and wonder what happened. As the steam clears, they see a knocked-out Nomura resting on Satori's breasts. Satori gets happy and comments that she actually got her to wish come true, which was to have a bath with our main boy Nomura. This angers the other girls, and they get way too jealous. Thank you all for watching until the end. It was my favorite recap work. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe.